Network marketing is not changing. It has already changed. And that rate of change is only accelerating. And it's different people are either reacting to it and some are choosing to get ahead of it and responding to it.
Well, hey there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and today it's my honor and privilege to introduce you to a very special individual who is very passionate about the network marketing industry, so much so that he wears not one, not two, not three, but four really powerful hats and is a huge advocate for seeing this industry take on a new lease of life. And I know for sure you're going to love this episode if you're as passionate about network marketing as I am. Today, I'm going to be introducing you to Garrett McGrath, who has got decades of experience in the network marketing industry, both in the field, but also as a CEO, also now as an advisor to a company for which we've had the founder come and speak on this podcast herself, Aspen from Bravenly Global. Garrett is also in the field with Bravenly Global. He is the president of the Association of Network Marketing Professionals, and he is the co-editor and chief of Business for Home. So this is a man who is passionate about seeing people's lives changed by this industry. He's passionate about seeing this industry thrive, and he has had extensive experience both from within it and outside of it. And so today in this episode, if you want to be both inspired, but also to have some wisdom placed upon you as you grow your own business, this is the episode for you. It's a little longer than usual, but we just had such fun talking together and so much amazing information came out of this session. So I know you're going to enjoy it. Grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy my chat with the amazing Garrett McGrath. Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and I am so honored and privileged to be joined today by the amazing Garrett McGrath. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from the other side of the globe today.
Without it, I live in Mercer Island, which is near Seattle, but I'm originally from Galway in the west of Ireland.
Yeah, so we've had this conversation before. The accent is a little confusing if you don't know this, right? I love it. But Garrett, I'm really pumped for this conversation today because we've had a few chats and got to know each other a little bit, and you are in a very, very unique position. Just by introduction, quickly, I'm going to let you explain this because you're going to do it a whole lot better than me, but you are a top distributor with Bravenly Global, so you're in the field.
Yes.
You're an advisor to Bravenly Global, so you're also an expert when it comes to business and company growth in the direct selling industry. You're the president of the Association of Network Marketing Professionals.
Yes.
And you're the co-editor in chief of Business from Home. Did I catch all of that?
Yes.
So many hats, Garrett. How do you keep it all together for a start? And you've got a big, beautiful family.
I feel very blessed. I have a very loving wife, and I feel like I'm married up. I always jokingly say God blinded her for a season, and that's why I married her. So I'm very blessed and have a beautiful, supportive family, and you know what that's like. When you have that, you are blessed and you can get more done because it's not about work-life balance. We have a very integrated life, and therefore things work very well. So I'm very blessed with that. Thank you.
And look, one of the other things I really love about what you do is, you've got a very unique situation, just like Greg and I have, where you're working with your amazing wife. You guys are in the business together. What does that look like for you guys? Is she involved with all four of those hats, or is she mostly involved with Bravenly Global? How do you manage the working together with your spouse?
So Sylvia's involved, like you were saying, what great in all four.
Yeah.
So, and that is a blessing for us because you know, the way we organize our life, I mean, we live it that our faith is number one and foremost in our lives. And then from there, it's family. How do we live those values? So we were discussing, traveling together with your family. People say, is that the most, efficient way to do it? No,
Yeah.
but it is effective and in alignment with
Yeah.
our values.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that means we get to do a lot. So we travel a lot. So with Bravenly Global, we have built in the field. Sylvia and I met one another when I was the master distributor at a company, and Sylvia was in charge of the marketing at that company. And we worked together. We did not date for 2.5 years. We became friends. And when that company literally closed its doors, it was a .com company. I literally called her up and said, good news and bad news. And she goes, what is that? I think she already knew, but I said, bad news is they just announced that our company is closing its doors. And she was, what's the good news? Well, I always remember as asking her, well, can we could go out for a date tonight? Because we're going and we've been together ever since. So that is, we work together, and we work together in the field. We work together as special advisors because I've also been the president and also the CEO of a network marketing company that Sylvia worked as the chief experience officer. And that company was doing about $130 million a year, about $16 million a month. And it's a blessing to work together. So we've done that together, and also the Association of Network Marketing Professionals, and I'm the co-editor in chief of
Yeah.
Business for Home with Sylvia.
Wow. Okay. So I love that story. So many, and it's a good reminder as well that we've got a lot of challenging things going on at the moment. You and I have talked about the fact that there've been, many companies very sadly in this industry closing their doors over the last couple of years, and we're going to speak into that a little bit as we move forward. But I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you're doing at the moment and why. Now, you're in the field, you're in corporate, and you're also representing the industry. You've kind of got this beautiful three-pronged effect going on here. I'd love to know, as someone who's been a CEO, a top field leader, an industry advocate, why, first of all, why network marketing? And then secondly to that, which of those roles do you feel has taught you the most about what makes this profession work?
There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot in that. So let's kind of look at it. So having been a CEO, and after that, making a decision, what do I want to do next? I literally prayed to God. Sylvia and I prayed to God and said, God, what do you want us to do with our precious time here on earth? Because I'm now 50, will be 59 in September. And, it was about 4 years ago. And we're asking ourselves that question. We looked at 40 different opportunities that we could consider. Did we want to be a CEO and president again? Did I want that role? Did we want to be the founder of a company? We were blessed. We had people reach out and saying, we will invest in the company. We know you. We'll give you 51% so you can own and run the company. We'll put the money in. Do you want to be in the field? So those were the top three. Or do you want to do, some consulting advisory role? So we looked at 40 companies, and we made the decision want to be in the field. So you say, why would that be? I mean, would be really great questions.
Why would that be when you've got that opportunity sitting there in front of you?
Well, I feel that my start was in the field. My heart is in the field. I love what the field can bring, which is you have time flexibility. And I always like to say it's time flexibility, not time freedom. People like to say time freedom, which implies you're not doing any work. I think that is a misnomer. I think you have time flexibility as to when you work, and you can be leveraged in how you work, but you're always going to work because there's no such thing as something that you truly retire away from. I just believe that's part of the challenge that we have. You also have geographical flexibility. My parents are 95 now. Back then, 4 years ago, I was looking, my mom had a massive stroke. She's still unfortunately bedridden. but every 60 to 90 days, I can afford financially to go home and see them in Galway in the west of Ireland, because they've got 2 full-time nurses and 4 part-time nurses looking after them, because my dad unfortunately also had a stroke. But it allows us the geographical flexibility to do that, and we can work from wherever we're at. And then thirdly, it gives us the opportunity to choose who it is that we do work together with. And I love all of that. And the reason that I ended up being it was Stuart Johnson, who is, we're going to meet one another again at the Direct Selling University and Direct Selling News. He's the CEO and founder of that. He actually asked me to share in a talk, because I had MC that event. He said, I want you to talk about how you chose and why you chose the company that you chose. And I opened up my talk and I said, network marketing is not changing. It has already changed. And that rate of change is only accelerating. And it's different people are either reacting to it, and some are choosing to get ahead of it and responding to it. And I want to do that in the field. It was his suggestion. He said, Garrett, but you've done so much as a CEO and a president and your wife and all you've done together. I really feel it would be a great benefit to you and to your CEO, who you have had on this your podcast, which is Aspen Emery and Brent Emery and the Emery family, for you to be able to work together. And we want it to be completely transparent. So we had that also as an additional role that everyone knows that we have. And that is really a great blessing, to be able to work with a field first founder.
Yeah.
So we speak field together, but we also can speak corporate together. I speak both languages fluently. And that has been a great relationship. But I love the way you and I talked about this. You asked me the question, is that public? And that was very public, very transparent from the beginning, because I feel like, your credibility, walks in on foot.
Yeah.
But when people find out an important material thing, it can ride out very fast on horseback. And that is something we definitely wanted to have, is transparency. We wanted to have, that openness. So that's why I chose that. I do feel that our profession has changed. We can talk about some of those changes. And I'm very excited to be part of a field organization and look to somebody in the eye and going, I know how you feel.
Yep.
I felt the same way. And I'm feeling those things today, whether that's in Australia, whether that's in the United Kingdom, whether that's in Ireland, whether that's in the United States, whether that's in Canada. I think globally there's change going on, and we can discuss some of those things.
Yeah. I am super excited actually for right now as well. And I think, Garrett, you and I have talked about the doom and gloom that's been going around about the industry. There has been a lot of shift. There have been companies that have closed down, or companies that have changed their model entirely, and that has been devastating for a lot of people. But what's really interesting, and we've had Aspen Emery, founder of Bravenly Global, on the podcast, and she shared that amazing story. But, that was just one of a number of stories I've heard recently from companies that are actually growing very quickly and doing very well. And it's not that the industry doesn't have some exciting future. It's that I love what you just said about how you're either moving with it or you're reacting to it. And I think that's such a really big part of where we're at now. And excited to unpack that a little bit. But I want to hear a little bit from you as well about one of your other hats, which is the Association of Network Marketing Professionals. Can you tell us a little bit about your role there, but also what's the mission behind this? If someone's hearing about it for the first time and they're like, I've never heard of this organization, what is it about? What does it do? What's the mission of the organization, and what can they expect from it?
So if you think about pretty much every profession, and we talk about network marketing being a profession, and by profession we mean that there are standards required in order to be successful, and the understanding that those standards require continuing education, because most professions evolve. If you were a teacher, for an example, you would expect to go to a conference maybe once a year and learn what are the new things that are going on there, at least once every 2 years. That would be normal. And most of these would have a trade association. So what a trade association is, it's a not-for-profit, a non-profit organization. And the goal is to represent what they call all the business lines in business. So there are three, as we identified. One is very obvious to all of us. At one time, the only sales channel, the way companies brought revenues to the company, was through and with the field. So you want your grassroots early people, and you want to have your legacy leadership people, and everything in between, they're representatives. But it's generally in the past has been siloed, where the DSA represented on the other side, which is it represented, for example, the CEOs, the founders of the company, and the supporters and the vendors to the, to the profession. And we, as an association, not only made a decision, but we saw that as our very mandate or reason for being, is combine all three together, because we see that as being the three legs to the stool. And we feel that that's been part of the reason why maybe network marketing hasn't reached its full potential, because if you look at franchising, that's how it operates. But for whatever reason, network marketing has to decide to bifurcate them. And in franchising, they say it. It's really funny. It's a really great, funny statement, which is, if you don't have a seat at the table, you may ask yourself, you wonder why, because you might be on the menu. And the challenge is we are definitely in a trust deficit, not only in the world, but in our profession. And it is not benefited from siloing. It does not benefit from censorship. It does not benefit from exclusion. It benefits from conversation, because too often relationships are influenced by what's not said rather than what is said. In other words, by the people that are excluded from the conversation. So we're bringing everybody around one table, and that is what the association is all about, and bringing network marketing to another level, because we believe it's evolving quickly, and no one of us is smarter than all of us.
Yeah, I love that. The concept of working together and bringing the many together. I really I love seeing more and more of that happen, and I truly believe that the success of this industry is in collaboration.
Yes.
Not in competition. So that's why I love these industry events, and I think they're such a great opportunity for us to all work together for a greater good, which is awesome. I'd love to know from your vantage point, you've talked about changes in the network marketing industry. What for you right now are you noticing as some of the biggest shifts that are happening in the network marketing industry?
I think that one of the big ones is that so when we talk about founders of companies, I think I've mentioned one type of founder, which is a field first founder. And if you look back historically at most of the successful legacy network marketing companies, these founders were either they founded the company, they built the company, they may not have been in the field, but they, to all intents and purposes, they were, because they were building in the field. So they have deep field understanding and background. And for the most part, they probably got their initial start in the field. And I think one of the most important things is, I don't know who said it, but it's, you need to understand the rules before you should be breaking the rules. And the challenge is too many don't understand the rules. They think they do, because network marketing, like many things that are built upon deep human relationships, are something that has to be caught. You have to experience it. It can't be taught. Now, people think you can teach it, But I think, Sam, you know this. We talked about you come from a direct sales background, the things that you learn knocking on doors, the things that you learn from direct sales. You know that when you speak to a fellow traveler, a fellow entrepreneur who has built and understands rejection, who understands building teams, who understands shifting changes, who understands having to rebuild something, who understands grit, having to get back up and all those things, it's different than someone that has read about that.
Yes.
You just know that
There's a lot more gray hairs and wrinkles. That's a
there
start.
you go. And it's like when they look in your eye and you can say, I know how you feel because I have felt that way before, not just one time, but many times. And I've got many perspectives and points of view, not just one. So that's one of the things that I think that is so important, is having field-first founders are incredibly deep experience. In fact, you can see it. There are companies whose succession, in other words, the founder loved network marketing, had the heart for it, and the children who inherited did not, and suddenly it fell apart.
Yes,
and
we've seen that many times.
I'm not trying to call it, that's not shot thrown over the bow of any network marketing company. It's just a reality that we've seen that.
Yep.
So that is, what was I going to say? A challenge. So that's, that in my mind is one of the big ones for, most companies. I think the other ones are the marketplace has shifted.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this. Automation. I hear sometimes company owners sharing in different forums that they feel like the field is demanding. They almost feel like the field, the tail shouldn't be wagging the dog. And I feel like I've been in those environments to go, that is so disrespectful, first of all. But let's let that slide for a second, is they don't deeply understand what is really going on in the field and how do you deal with the shift and the changes in the marketplace. So, for example, compensation plans. Today's world, I know you're smiling, it is.
We're opening that can of worms, all right?
Yeah, but I think it's, because we talked about this.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, the first part is people need to learn that they can generate cash flow through the acquisition of customers, but it's based upon the love of a product and sharing that love of a product, which is easy to do. It's like a restaurant. We always give the example. Oh, yes, the reason that, you can share, it's like sharing a restaurant that you love or sharing that a movie that you love. But we didn't have to give them a script on how to talk about the restaurant. We didn't have to give them.
Thank you, right? This is the thing. Yeah.
So what's the key to that? It's the love. It is the fact that they fell in love, that they couldn't help themselves to chat about it. That's important, that you have products or services that create that experience, which has people want to do so. Then when they do so, they can generate income. And then when they repeat purchase, because there's no such thing as residual income. Residual is kind of a fallacy. There is repeat income that comes from repeat purchases, but you have to have a comp plan that has sufficient money in the compensation plan in the beginnings of the comp plan, so someone's rewarded there to get some confidence, create some cash flow, and then from there, they can be evolved or maybe nudged or inspired to want to look for, maybe I could have a little bit of leverage here and begin to show this or share this with other people. So they transition from consuming the product, loving the product, getting the results with the product, repeat purchasing the product, then referring the product, then from there doing that a few times and realizing I can come over here. And a great way, like, let me give you an example. Here's a simple nudge. People, like, just an insight for people that are maybe watching your podcast. People say, how do you get people to go from being a consumer of the product to wanting to refer the product? So, Sam, here's a simple way. Like, it's so easy. Go, Sam, thank you very much for being a great consumer of our product. But you know what I love is that I shared your story with a few people, and your story is so powerful. Those people that I shared your story, your experience, and the product that you love, they actually decided to buy the product from me. So if you ever tell us, you can either, you have the opportunity to generate some income for yourself, or you can refer those people to me. So you sow that seed, and someone goes, "Huh? So you're using my story and my success with your product to make additional sales. I never thought of that."
Yep. Yeah, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about technology for a second. I think we're in a very difficult time right now that's both exciting but also challenging because, it goes without saying technology is moving faster and developing faster than it has ever developed before. And it's only going to continue on that trajectory at a faster pace. The challenge we have now are all of the tools out there and the overcomplication of that in so many ways. And you and I have talked about automation and various tools that can be used in this industry to simplify things. And there's a lot of focus on that. There is obviously a very important place for technology in this industry, and we need to be moving with it. But the question is, and I'd love to hear from you, when it comes to technology, what do you think is the right balance between the relationship building human element that makes this industry what it is and incorporating technology over here, which is a part of the world that we're in right now? What does that balancing act look like in your mind in an industry that you know so well and are so heavily involved in?
So I have deep thoughts on this because of lots of input from both corporate, field, vendors, and so many perspectives. And I'm a very analytical human being. And I will say that we need to stop wanting what we don't want. So I like to say we want enhancement, not replacement.
Yeah.
The challenge is we've been going the replacement route.
Yes.
And you see it, replacement is we're trying to go towards affiliate. I don't believe that's the way to go. I think that's the way to literally have the profession go away and your business go away. Because if, and I'm saying if because I'm just trying to be kind and be balanced on this, but if we believe that AI and technology is going to be all pervasive, in other words, it's going to be accessible by everybody, it's going to become available to everybody, it's going to become simpler to use, and it's going to become more cost effective, and we all believe that, what is your unique selling point? What is your unique value add to the relationship, to the profession, to the situation? It is the relationship.
Yeah.
And a relationship is not two AI proxy bots speaking to one another. What sometimes I call, text some of my friends and it comes back immediately. I realize it's the AI bot just texted me back.
Right.
Yeah, you see that, or when someone's using Fixer, and I see I noticed the response back, and I'm going, they didn't take the time to write this. This is Fixer just sending back to me. I'm gonna have to go over and back with their proxy AI bot before I get to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you're on the phone, you're going, agent, heck, you're my friend. Pick up the phone, text me back, message me back, get off this dang AI proxy bot that's sending me something back. This is so frustrating. Well, guess
I know,
what?
right?
I think there's going to be a backlash. I think there's going to be a desire for real. Because if all of this is true, the value add that we can offer is our human experience. AI bots don't have skin. AI bots don't have emotion. AI bots don't care. They create a synthetic version of caring, which is mirroring back to you, but it is not you. You know this instinctually over time. You go, oh, does that make sense? What really people want is, I know how you feel because they know how you feel. They have had experiences. Let me say this. If it were just about more information, as the internet became more accessible, we had more information, we would all be all the things we want to be because there was more information. Think about AI. What does AI do? It is great at explaining things. It is great at, but it's not great at experiencing anything. We don't get, it doesn't experience it. It doesn't let us experience it. And I believe so strongly the companies that are winning truly know how to double down into conversation, real conversation, conversation commerce, real communities where the person goes, I love being in here. I love knowing the conversations here are real humans talking to real humans. I love the fact when someone's saying to me, when Sam says, I know how you feel because I built in that world before, I know what that looks like. One of the jokes, I say this all the time as a kind of a joke, but you've been a long time, and I mean that in a complimentary way, deep in network marketing, deep in direct sales, deep in social media. You know how to teach someone. So, let's say, for example, you've probably met a tourist in Australia that has asked you directions, and it might be, do you know the way to Melbourne? And you go, sure I do. But if I was you, I wouldn't start from here. And that seems like where else do I have an option to start from? And that sounds ridiculous. But guess what? Coaches that don't have experience and AI that only has a experience from a synthetic one is literally going to ask you to start from whatever point the AI has decided you to start from, or whatever point that trainer wants to have you start from. Why is that? Because one size fits all. Does that make sense? In other words, they've decided this is the unifying string theory. This is the data what says this is the way you should start, as opposed to going, I have a conversation with you. I actually know where you're at, and I'm a human being and I know where I'm at, but I can go to you and in real terms, put my arms around you and said, let's go there together.
Yeah.
And it is that human connection, that human journey, that walking together that brings people closer together. And that's what's going to happen. And that is what the difference maker is, whether it is coaching, because I see a lot of people, does that make sense? That they've outsourcing all of this to, but it's real. I'm talking about coaching that is real, that's focused on enabling, enhancing, not replacing. And the last thing I'll say is, like you just said, where does it play a role? When it can come alongside and help you to become better at that conversation, maybe helping you to understand that you got this, help you understand the conversation of it. That's what is so important. I know that's what you're a stand for, what Greg's a stand for, what you like to teach people to be able to do. How do we lean into our humanness and to be learned how to stay present with that? Because that's the value add. There is only one Sam. There is only one Greg. There is only one human being. There are infinite numbers of AI bots, chat bots, technology, large language models, and all those different things. But at the end of the day, that is not unique. That is not the relationship that most people, I believe, are looking for. With some, yes, but I think most people are going to look for that. And that is what's winning in network marketing. And I know it's what you teach also. And Greg, you both teach.
Yeah, so good. I love it. It's to that as well. I think you bring up a really important point, and talking about trust, that's, again, one of my favorite quotes. And I repeat this multiple times a day, that people buy from those they like, know, and trust, because I really believe that we're distributors and consultants. So and that's, most of our listeners here are in that space. They are trying to grow a business in this space, but most of them have forgotten to insert themselves into the equation. They are leading with product, they're leading with business opportunity, and they're forgetting that before anyone cares about that, they're going to care about you first. They need to care about you first, because that's the driver to not only conversion but retention long term. The flip side to this, and this is the difficult part about the age that we're in and the fast moving of technology right now is that trust is more important now than it's ever been, but it's also harder to earn than it's ever been. And so it actually takes longer right now. And we're in an age at the moment that we're seeing, Garrett, where the issue that we have is that we're in the silent observer stage. So 2026 is the year of the silent observer. People don't engage and interact on social media in the way they did before. They passively interact. And so I'm seeing a lot of consultants and distributors and network marketers feeling quite, I guess, deflated by that, thinking that that's a reflection on the quality of their content and therefore they must be failing online or failing in their business because people aren't interacting. It's not that they're not watching and building trust. They're just doing it quietly because people are so used to, number one, fake content, but number two, being hounded and hassled. And it's so much easier to sit back and watch and wait until I can truly trust this person to step forward and engage. And I think if we could come out with one, I guess, objective by the end of this year, I would love to see more people having courage breathed into them to show up as themselves and share what they're passionate about, share their journey, and keep doing that no matter what, because it's a compounding effect, right? And the more you do it, the more people see it, the more trust you build, and the snowball effect starts. And yeah, I think courage is the key here, right? Courage to keep showing up.
And I think the courage is, so the precursor, trust really stands on something that we don't talk about, which is love. So let
Yep.
me share with you this. So it's not how much love that I have for my wife, Sylvia, that's important. And people go, of course it is. Well, no, it's not. It's how much love my wife feels that I have for her that's important. It's not how much love I have for my family. It's how much love does my family feel that they have for me. The challenge is how we experience love and our willingness to not feel cynical about what is being shared with us. Cynicism comes from the overabundance of scaling messaging. In other words, copy and pasting, saying the same thing over and over again, just is shallow, flat, and non-meaning. It just loses its meaning because it's ubiquitous. They got shared everywhere. They don't believe it's real. It's like you don't want Greg, your husband, to go online and just whisper sweet hallmark nothings into your ear that he heard. You're going, what the heck is that? That is just something you got from AI. You would sense that in a heartbeat. We're human love detectors. We just are. And
So funny you say that. He actually sent me, he responded to a challenging text. I challenged him on something the other day. We've been doing renovating, and anyone who's married and renovated, they get this, right? Hard stuff. And I picked up on something and I sent him a message, and his response was so clearly a ChatGPT response that he'd asked it, how do I get the best outcome from this situation? Like, how do I get what I want out of this? And I just went, I can't believe you ChatGPT'd me. I can't believe you did that. I could tell straight away. He said, well, that was a complete flop. I won't do that again.
But that's a great example. And we're going to become more and more adept at spotting that. And
Yes.
that's where the challenge is. And that's why I'm saying, how do you get faster relationship is stop using ChatGPT. Because when it lands flat and it takes forever, it's because there's no level of potency, there's no level of concentration, there's no level of power within it, because it was developed by a synthetic organism, not by a real heartfelt person like you. And sometimes people want to see imperfection. I can tell when something is sent to me, it's so perfectly curated, punctuated, and shortly delivered. I go, that was not a text from that person. I can tell. And that's where we started from. So now we're this human AI detector. And it's almost like an insult. And that's why it takes so long until someone has the confidence, the courage to show up as they are. And you will find the people who are meant to find you if you show up more authentically. Let me give you one last example. I think this is so, I remember I went to, before I was married, to a really great conference for a weekend, and it was some of the very top directors in Hollywood were there. And it was really interesting to me that one of the people that was there said, how do I act in order for me to find my life partner? And the piece of advice that the person gave us said, stop acting. If you want, if you show up as your best self, but that is not yourself, you need to stop doing this, because the reality is show up as yourself and you're going to find the people that will fall in love with yourself. So what's the first thing that happens? Fall in love with yourself, have the courage and confidence to show up as yourself, and you will find there's other people out there that are looking for yourself, not the ChatGPT version. And that takes confidence. It takes people teaching that, but you're looking for people who are looking for you. There are more people looking with a greater sense of urgency than have ever been looking before. And I say this all the time, unclear expectations, our unmet expectations, are future frustrations under construction. So if you show up as someone else, and then eventually you show up as yourself, what happens to that relationship? The trust goes away and the relationship goes away. So once people learn to stop wasting their time with showing up as someone else, it's what you teach. That courage is going to create a new relationship, a new foundation, and a new future. And I'm so a stand for, and so is the Association of Network Marketing Professionals, a stand for. That is what our profession stands upon. It is not transactional. Our profession is transformational. In other words, we become the best versions of ourselves. And so often what happens is the skills, the values, the relationships, like what you just said, how many people in network marketing said, I became a better husband, I became a better father, I became a better wife, I became a better mother, I became a better son, a better daughter, a better friend. I learned how to actually lead. I learned that growth is possible. I stopped having a fixed non-growth mindset, and I realized I can have a growth mindset. I became curious. I realized I can learn. I realized I can do hard things. I realized I can be consistent, that consistency beats intensity. I realized, overcoming. I learned how to communicate. I was isolated before. I never talked to anyone. I was a keyboard warrior. I actually went out and went to an event. I realized that I'm more than good enough. I realized that it's okay to celebrate my faith. I realized it's okay to have values that are like this because there's some other similar-minded people there. Some of the strongest relationships start with someone says, me too. Oh my gosh, you feel the same way that I do? I thought I was on my own. Isolated. And this is real. You feel this way. Trust. And then you can go from that trust into, as I said, the transformation. And then you have a tribe, because people will vibrate. You will attract the tribe by the way that you show up. And that's what it is. So you can tell I'm very much, we riff on this, you and I, a lot, and with Greg and Sylvia and myself and the association. It's why I'm so excited for you to, speak at our event, because I really believe that the value that you and Greg are committed to bringing is in bringing the best out of people, and to do it in a way that's authentic, that's real, that is meeting people where they're at, because you've been to so many different aspects of our profession. And I feel God blessed me with a few things. Number one, a slow start. I didn't have a zero to hero start in network marketing. I had a slow start, but you know what? Most people in network marketing do. I've been broke more than once, 2 or 3 times, where broke would have been a good place to be. But you know what I learned is that is a delay, not a denial, and how to overcome that. And when someone says that happened, I can look them in the eye going, I know how you feel. That's happened to me before. Someone, well, it's happened to me twice. Me too. Oh my gosh, you as well. And suddenly we stop trying to be this version of what we think people think we should be, and show up as ourselves. And I know that's what you, Greg, are a stand for. And how do you do that in a way that duplicates, that's attractive, that's real? And that's what I'm very excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we could talk about this all day. I've got so many more things that I'd love to ask you and add to that. But I know that we're getting towards the end of our time very quickly here, Garrett. So I did actually want to ask you just very quickly about leadership before I get into my 4 quick fire favorite questions. So I hope you're ready for those.
Mhm.
But I do want to just quickly ask you about leadership because when we spoke last, you made mention that you believe that some of the leadership skills essentially that have built this industry, your words are that some of them are starting to age out. And I'd love to know what you believe are the key leadership skills that we need to hone in on in order to see this industry thrive right now in 2026.
I think it takes courage, it takes bravery, it takes posture and belief in yourself to listen to another human being without thinking about what you're going to say next, and that you have your hands on the conversation. You've decided where they should go next.
Mm-hmm.
And that is requires experience. And the
Yes.
challenge is we got a lot of that experience that was hard won for people is aging out, whether the next generation doesn't feel that way, whether you've got venture capitalists coming in and buying their way to a company and don't honor and realize all of that. And
Yep.
they have a formula, which is a one size fits all formula. That's how formulas work. The challenge with that is one size fits one. One size fits one. And they don't know how to work with someone and make that happen and create a micro customized game plan. WIN, what's important now and what's important next for who? This person here, the person that you're having a conversation with. Number two is the right strategy at the wrong time will bring you pain. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with even venture capitalists, CEOs that don't have this experience, and they're saying to me, why is this not working now? And I'm going, because first of all, it's not working now. It worked then. And also, when you did it then, it was at this time of the year. It was at this stage of growth of your organization. It was at this stage of growth for that person. The right strategy at the wrong time will bring you pain. They try to run it over and over again. They don't know the rules. And you need to know the rules before you break them. If you're going to add in technology, you need to know the rules so that it's an enhancement, not a replacement. And you got to stop wanting what you don't want. And I think these are all challenges that people have. And the last thing I'll say is blind spots. We all have them. But I think we've got into a world where everybody is telling everybody what they want to hear. They got so in love with the sycophantic, I don't know what word I want to use, but something kissing, large language models that, oh, you're so smart. Oh, you're so right. And they're just so happy with being so perfect. We all have blind spots. Every one of us do. By their very nature, you need to have other people around you who have more experience than you, where their hindsight, in other words, looking back at their experience, but it's deep and broad, it's got both aspects, can become your foresight. But they also can challenge you and say, have you considered this might be a blind spot? And that takes a level of confidence. And that's what I love about mentoring and working with people, having almost 35 years, having, like you talked about, all those different perspectives, being also, being the co-editor in chief of Business for Home. It means that every day we have most of the news that is made public coming into our home, and also the news that's not made public coming into our home through the informal channels that comes in confidentially. And then we're also publishing it. So it gives you this viewpoint. I'm more confident today about network marketing. I am more excited today about network marketing because I believe people like you, like Greg, that have the heart for it, but also the understanding of how to marry together the needs of today's world to create this new hybrid, which is in person and online, that's based on relationships and is not just rule bounds. Because Aspen Emery likes to say all the time, rules without relationships creates rebellion. We're seeing all of that rebellion all over the place because you've
Yep.
got people that want to impose the rules, but they didn't have the right to even formulate those rules because they don't have the relationships. You don't
Yep.
short circuit the way there. The relationship is built on trust. Trust is earned, and trust comes through a deep love of someone else and the desire that to really be a benefit and bring value into their lives in a way
Yep.
that only humans can.
Yeah, I love that. So true. So good. Well, Garrett, I think we need to get into these 4 quick fire questions, my favorite questions of any interview with a special guest. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, first question is this. What is your book of the moment? I've stopped saying favorite book because I feel like if you're a reader like me, you've got lots of them. So, what's your book of the moment to share for our accelerator book list?
So what's interesting is I started off with a goal this year purposefully to increase my faith, bring more value to my family, to do it in a measurable, real way. So I set a goal to read the Bible, and I had a Bible recap as a book, but I set a
Yep.
goal to do it in 90 days, not over the course of a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I literally just finished that. And
Yes.
I wanted to do it as a bookending my day, not
Yeah.
as a study, but as a deep spiritual experience. And I
Yep.
feel that has been so enriching, and I've loved it. And it's made me a better mentor because I have more confidence to trust that the Holy Spirit will work within me, and I can
Yeah.
know what is this person looking for by giving up all the other things and just deep listening to another human being. So
Yeah.
that is just so you can see that January, February, and March, and we just got into April. So that is
Wow,
that
I
one.
love
Okay.
that. Do you know, it's funny, even if we've got listeners right now who are not Christian, they're like, that's not my thing. Well, there's actually a massive amount of wisdom in the book, in the Bible. And interestingly enough, I read a book by a really good friend of mine that was how he became a millionaire by reading every day of the month. He would read one of the chapters in Proverbs, and he did this consistently over and over and over again. And just so much wisdom in it. I love it. And it's funny you say that. I actually went through a similar thing. I bought a Read the Bible in a Year workbook and started
This
it
is
with
the
a
one
couple of friends.
I don't know if you can
Oh, mine's not that thick. I love that.
Yeah, that's it. That is so. But I read a book a week, so I will say
Oh
I
my
am
goodness.
I'm a voracious reader because I bookend my day with this. So I'm very organized around that. That is part of my routine. Show me a routine, and I'll show you the rest of your life. That is a
Wow.
built-in routine for me for
So
decades.
give me another book. Since you read a book a week, give me another book that's one of the tops of your list.
So
If you're going to recommend a book to
I
anyone in this,
just finished this one.
good
So
timing with Easter having just
yeah,
gone. I love
I
it.
did another one that maybe everything that you want is on the other side of hard.
Oh, I love that. Everything that you
So
want is on the other side of hard. Next question is, what's your favorite quote?
um, I think that one of the ones that I just shared with you, which was the right strategy at the wrong time will bring you pain.
Mm,
And the challenge is they change something that doesn't help them. They
yeah,
get out of sequence. So like you talking about superpowers, we were talking about this. My superpower for sure is mentorship, unlocking someone's potential. And
yep,
I'm very good at doing it. This is my opinion. I've been told this over and over again because I really focus on this. Mentorship is my superpower. I am great at helping people spot the blind spot, not take it on as blame, not take it on as shame, not take it on as guilt, not take it on as anything other than an opportunity to grow, but not some airy fairy type of way. What's important now? What's
yep,
important next? What's the next action step? And to create accountability, which is closing the gap between what you intended to do and you actually did, not with the, oh my gosh, I don't need another boss, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
And not just being all coach or not being all cheerleader. It's something that I've been the beneficiary of, and
Yep.
I've always wanted to do better with it. And I feel like if there was a superpower, people would look at me and say, that probably is my superpower. I've helped people who are not making money to make money. They were unhappy. They're got happiness because I've got this synthesis, this broad experience. God blessed me with a slow start, lots of challenges, and a learning style that means I absorb it. You know, when you
Yep.
know something, when you can remember it, no, it's when you can't forget it. My recall of that
Yep.
is because I deeply lived it and can't forget. You're the person most powerfully equipped to help your previous self. So
Yep.
really understand that. And there's no such thing as coincidence. It's God's way of remaining anonymous. You
Yep.
were powerfully and wonderfully made, and you are built for times such as these. And I believe we're going to do incredible things in the world through our profession. And I feel so
Yep.
mission driven and so blessed to get to do that together with people like yourself, like Greg, and the people that are attracted to our profession and want to grow it in the new way, because we need to usher in the new generation, the new leaders of our profession for this new world. And we need them not to age out, but we need them to grow in and lean into it. And I'm very excited about that. And thank you for the opportunity to be on here, to share with your audience, to walk worthy together on this journey together with you and Greg, because the legacy that you're leaving will be something that will have a ripple effect for so many who are looking for hope. They're looking for strategy. They're looking for support. You got to see one to be one, and you are a real one.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today, Garrett, and sharing your experience and your knowledge. And of course, thank you to our beautiful listeners for tuning in again today. Please make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes, and share this with a friend. If there's someone that you think, hey, they need to hear this message, share the message. And we look forward to seeing you on the podcast again next week. Thanks, everyone. And bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator Podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.